And a pleasant good evening to you and to yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network and another edition of the Ubrzati High School Football Preview Show. Good evening, everybody. I am Alan Slaughterzinski, and it is always a pleasure to be with you at 10 p.m. or about that time on Thursday nights as we get set to preview the upcoming week in high school football in Brevard County. And as always, though, I do like, since the accident happened, if you haven't seen it on our Facebook page, Caleb has recently delivered an update via video. And I'd like to begin the show tonight with Caleb's video message to all of you out there, thanking you. And, I'll give you an update a little bit deeper after Caleb's done.
Hey everybody, Caleb Brown here for the Brevard Sports Network, and just giving everyone an update. I am back in Brevard County, thankfully, back in Brevard County at Sea Pines Rehabilitation Hospital. Doing PT and trying to get better so I can get back out there to calling and broadcasting all the great athletes we have in Brevard County. I thank everyone for their support, their prayers, and donations to the GoFundMes and everything. Thank you, Brevard County. Cannot thank you guys enough. I do like having visitors. If you wish to come visit me at Sea Pines Rehabilitation Hospital, reach out and.
My man Caleb, and listen, so many of you out there have done so much to help through the GoFundMe, and some of you have even stopped down to see Caleb, and we can't thank you. I can't thank you personally enough for that. On the screen right now is Caleb's GoFundMe. When I say that this is going to be an extremely long recovery process for him, it is. It truly is. And there are so many other layers to this thing that I can't even discuss on air. So please continue to share that GoFundMe link. It's at the top of our page because every share, every dime, dollar, love, hug, prayer, support helps. I promise. All right. Before we begin to take a look at the games this week, we always like to take a look back at last week. And if you're wondering why I keep looking down, it's because, I don't have Caleb to produce the show. So I'm working off of the iPad to produce to make sure that the graphics go up. So I'm not ignoring you, and it's unprofessional to see the top of my fading hairline. I get it. But that's the way it is for now. So, before we get to this week and talk about the games this week, I always like to take a look back at last week's games. Because, man, did we have some. And right there at the top, we're going to talk a lot more about that first one there on the board. Merritt Island over Ed White, 52-49. And the game that you saw right here on Brevard Sports Network, O'Galley 27, Titusville 14. Rockledge, a second straight district win. This one over Deltona, 42-0. Astronaut, 14-6. Satellite stays unbeaten, moves to 6-0 with a 26-point win over Palm Bay. Space Coast over Cocoa Beach, 48-21. And Coach Jake Owens just got them guys rolling towards a second straight SSAA state championship. Heritage, 35. South Fork, 7. The blueprint, I call it now, for Heritage. Tough schedule to start and run through the district, although I don't believe that I can't remember which team it is down there. There's a team down there this year that's going to give Heritage a fight for that district. Osceola, Melbourne put up a hell of a fight against Osceola, but fall 18-10. Bye weeks for Cocoa, Holy Trinity, MCC, and Vieira. An 8-man action. The Merritt Island Christian Cougars and the Brevard rivalry with a running clock win over Calvary Chapel. Now, let's go back to last week. Now, we've talked a lot about O'Galley and Xavier Larice, and we're going to do it again here in a little bit, and deservedly so. But tonight's show, we start off with the Merritt Island Mustangs because the Merritt Island Mustangs last week delivered one for the the ages, a storybook finish. And we used to give away the offensive and defensive players of the week award on the show. I couldn't find it. I haven't been able to find a sponsor to do that for the last 2 years. We would give these student athletes $50 gift certificates, and I mean, they love plaques, but they love those gift certificates even more. I just couldn't find anybody to sponsor it this year. But if we were giving away the Offensive Player of the Week award, there is no doubt in my mind that, listen, Xavier Larice last week had a punt return. He had a kickoff return or a punt return, threw a touchdown pass, and ran a touchdown in. He certainly would have been a candidate for Offensive Player of the Week. I think he would have gotten it the week before against Coco, though. But this week would have went to Kevin Verpail of the Merritt Island Mustangs, because what Kevin Verpail did last week was an absolute thing of beauty. And can we take just a minute and a half here to look at Verpail's highlights on the screen from last week? He had 5 touchdown passes last week. He was 24 of 32 for 336 with 5 touchdown passes. By the way, he added another 100 on the ground and another rushing touchdown last week as Merritt Island picks up a big win over Ed White. Now, if you're just as confused about the FHSAA rankings, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because Merritt Island picks that win over Ed White, and they dropped. And now, I do think O'Galley should be ranked ahead of them in the region, but I don't know about falling to 4 here. I really thought O'Galley should have, if there was any movement at all. All the FHSA screwed up because when the rankings came out, O'Galley should have been 2, Merritt Island should have been 3, and that's how it should be right now, in my opinion. But, I mean, can you just admire the beauty with which Verpail played last week and what he did to help lead his team to victory? It really was a remarkable performance from Verpail. But in doing so, guys like Verpail, when they have games like this, it propels other guys to also have big games. And we're going to talk about Liam Miller in a minute and what Liam Miller did in this one. But, and there you see Verpail statistics on the screen. Excuse me. But from a receiving standpoint, last week against Ed White, Drew Sarver, 6 for 108, a touch. Deshaun Thomas, 7 for 85, a touch. Just an incredible week for the Mustangs. Oh, and by the way, they also trailed in this game by 16 points with under 4 minutes to go. In Verpail, and kudos to Tyler Murray in this game, because Tyler Murray, Merritt Island's defense during this bye week here, they've got to get this run stop figured out. They have to, because if they got any shot at all to beat O'Galley, they're going to have to figure out how to stop the run. Ed White last week, 371 rushing yards. That can't happen against O'Galley, or it's a moot point in that game, because O'Galley will control the clock, the tempo, and they'll keep the football, and they'll limit the Mustangs' possession. So got to get that fixed this week, and I'm sure they're working on that. But going back to this game, so they trail by 16 with 4 minutes to play. And in this game, Tyler Murray's defense is obviously struggling to stop the run. But on Ed White's last possession with 93 seconds to play, the defense sends him on a 3-and-out and a punt. I mean, if you're going to have a stop, that's the best time to do it. Murray has used all of his timeouts to ensure that they're going to get the football back. They do. Verpail hits, I believe it was Drew Sarver on an out route at the sidelines. Clock stops. On walks Liam Miller. Now, if you don't know anything about Liam Miller, let me tell you. First of all, he's one of the best hitters in Brevard County when it comes to baseball. Heck of a catcher. He's also a pretty good soccer player, by the way, which leads to this right here on the field last week. Here's his first attempt at the game winner. Ed White, neutral zone infraction, offsides, dead ball foul in high school. Liam's got to kick it again. Now, in high school football, to see a guy kick a 42-yard field goal. I'm sorry. I know Brevard County has a lot of good kickers, right? And we've seen some great ones come through. But the bottom line is the odds of hitting a 42-yard field goal, regardless, at any point in a game, is small with high school field goal kickers. And then to try to ask them to do it again, and he nails it right down Broadway with 20 yards to spare and 80 feet in the air, and the Mustangs go on to win 52-49. I wrote in that game that 20 years from now, these guys are going to be talking about this game at their reunions, because I'm telling you, that is the thing that, and that's a big win in terms of what they can do. Move that gives you confidence in late game stretches to be able. You obviously, again, we've already talked about, they got to stop the run, because if you're going to win in the playoffs, right? Good teams in the playoffs, a lot of good teams in the playoffs, use the formula of running the football to control the clock, let their defense force turnovers. That's playoff football. That's in the mud playoff football. You know who plays that? O'Galley does, right? So O'Galley's going to have to get that figured out. But on the flip side, O'Galley's going to have to figure out how to slow down Kevin Verpail, too. And I know Xavier Larice has been back there playing a lot of secondary lately, and they're going to need him against that high-powered passing attack of Merritt Island coming up in a couple of weeks. But speaking of O'Galley last week and Xavier Larice, man, they get it done again. And Larice again. Here's a hell of a throw to Captain Roll. What a play by Captain Roll. I was talking to a friend of mine who, Titusville fan, and said, you know, the defender had that. Now, Captain Roll came to the ground with it. And, of course, there's Larice's big run right there. And then here comes the head-scratching part. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Coach Diesel about this, but I'm sure everybody, you know, this is just one of these things that happen. You know, you tell, don't punt the ball to Larice. Don't punt the ball to Larice. You can try sometimes not to do something. I mean, my mom used to tell me a million times not to do something. I'd end up doing it 999,999 times, right? And never any of those times did I intentionally want to do it. I'm sure this guy did not want to kick this football to Xavier Larice, but he did. And your end result is game, set, match, because Larice just does Larice things when he picks his ball up. He splits two tacklers right there. Whoop, down the sidelines he goes, and you're not going to catch him. You are not going to catch him. And they did not. And Larice and the O'Galley Commodores, pick up a big win last week. So that was really the highlights. I mean, Rockledge with another big win last week. And let's take one more look, just because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, to make sure that I forget to mention something. Yeah, Melbourne. I want to talk about Melbourne, too. And, last year this was a game they lost by 40 points to Osceola. I was a little peeved at the rankings for Merritt Island, too, and we'll get to that in a minute, because that's the next topic of conversation here on Brevard Sports Network, are these FHSAA Week 2 rankings. So why don't we just jump right into them? And if you look at your screen right now, MCC, Cocoa, Astronaut, Titusville, O'Galley, Merritt Island, Rockledge joins the party this week. Vieira and Melbourne are all in the mix for the Florida High School Athletic Association. So let's start. MCC is number 6 in 1A Region 2. But let's jump to 3A here, because it's the 3A rankings that I with those three teams there in O'Galley, Merritt Island, and Titusville, that I think we want to concern ourselves with here. And then we'll get to 6A here in just a second. I'm going to pull it up on the screen for you, but I just need to get it pulled up on the screen for you. So give me just a second here. You can say, Alan, were you supposed to have all this ready? Yes, I know. Relax. We're getting there. This is an easy show, right? Okay, here we go. Let's go to the screen, shall we? And there it is on your screen. So here is 3A, Region 2. The number 1 seed is Bishop Moore. They are well ahead of O'Galley right now in terms of points. But I think the interesting thing here is look at the strength of schedule, which is next to the total points. The 18023 represents the number of points based off of their ranking system, which is 33% this, 33% that, 33% this. Trust me, there's a lot more to it, and it's way too involved to get into in this show. But right here is the strength of schedule. O'Galley's at an 804, which is the highest in the region until you get to Titusville, who is a 967. So Titusville actually has, in terms of point-wise, the toughest strength of schedule in this region, at least 1 through whatever's on the screen, down to Palm Bay, who's at 14. But they sit at 7. So Bishop Moore is 1, O'Galley's 2. South Sumter is 3. They are just mere points right here. You see that? Mere points ahead of Merritt Island. And then Eastside, Wekiwachi, who is 5-1. And then Titusville, who is 2-4. And much in part thanks to that strength of schedule, is a 7 seed. Here's what I would say for Titusville. I still don't think if you're 2-4, if you go 3-1 the rest of that way, and the loss, and that one loss is to Merritt Island, you're a 7 or an 8 seed. Still, I believe. Anything less than 3-1, 2-2, and I think you are watching very, very closely, holding your breath on Selection Sunday. I don't think Titusville can afford to go anything but 3-1. 4-0 preferably, right? I mean, if you're a Terrier fan, you want that win over Merritt Island. You want to create chaos in this district. So you're going to, but to say that if you lose to O'Galley and Merritt Island, you're not going to make the playoffs, that's not true. And again, thanks in large part to this right here. I'm sorry, Mount Dora is higher at 1357. So Titusville's got the second top strength of schedule in this region for what we see on the screen. But thanks in part to that 967, you're a 7 seed. But, and for me, for the Terriers, they're this close, man. They just got to finish. Let's take a look at, let's go back up here and go to 4A, and we'll show you Rockledge, who made a significant jump last week. Rockledge is in 4A, Region 2. Where are they? Or are they in 3? Hang on here. I think they may be. Oh, I'm way down here. There they are. I got them. Yeah, they're 4A, Region 2. So in Region 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's Rockledge right there. They are a 7 seed. Rockledge jumped all the way up last week from a 13 seed to a 7 seed. That's 6 spots. Look at their strength of schedule. Come over here and you look at Rockledge. Who's the highest strength of schedule in this region belongs to Jones, who's the 2 seed in Region 2 at an 8-7-0. You come down to Auburndale, who's next at a 7-6-2. And bam, there you go. There's Rockledge at a 6-8-1. So for those that say that these schedules, for young teams like this, are you really doing anything for them? What is it really doing? Well, there you have it. That's what it's really doing. The Raiders are 2-3. I think they're going to win their district anyway. The only team ranked higher than them in their district is New Smyrna Beach, and I like Rockledge to beat them. New Smyrna Beach is 5, so think about that. Tough one this week, though, for Rockledge coming up. They're going to go take on Mandarin, who's a top 25 team in the state. But good for the Raiders. They've outscored their last 2 district opponents 89-7. That's pretty impressive. And a wise man once told me that all that matters is what you do in district play, and then you get to the postseason, right? So we'll see. Now, Heritage, who was, let's just say, when these new ranking or regions and districts came out, they definitely got the short end of the stick there. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth now. Heritage now sits just one spot out of a playoff. This could be the problem, though, right here. Because I think Heritage is going to have to win the district to make the playoffs. I think that was pretty much the case for them last year. But Martin County is 4-1. I don't know how good they are, but I looked at their schedule. I was looking at some ink on them. You know, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good matchup. The good news, Heritage gets it at home this year. And then you see, too, what benefits Heritage? Well, look on the screen. Even St. Thomas Aquinas, they have a 0.09 strength of schedule does St. Thomas Aquinas. And yes, St. Thomas is in the same region as Heritage. You go down here to Heritage. Heritage has the toughest strength of schedule at 604. And there you see the strength part at 604. But yeah, Heritage is down here in 5A Region 4 with Atlantic, Delray Beach, St. Thomas Aquinas, 83rd in the state, according to what does Max Prep say about them? They got them ranked second in Florida. But FHSAA has them 83rd. There you go, right? So what does that tell you after 2 weeks of the FHSAA rankings, right? With a grain of salt. But it's important because a lot of times you can start, and I've seen this happen, you can start so far down that it's tough to make that climb back up because maybe you did get the short end of the stick in the first 2 weeks, and it becomes a tough climb from there. So got to win these games. And here is 6A Region 2, where Vieira, on a bye week, jumps up to 4. Good for the Hawks. Bad for Melbourne, though, because Melbourne falls to 7 after a loss to Osceola, which didn't really make a lot of sense to me because that's 2 spots. But I think the thing that's hurting the Bulldogs here, and as much as strength of schedule can benefit you, you see they have a minus 316 in strength of schedule, which is the worst in that region. So Melbourne falls 2 spots. And again, plenty of time. I say that, but this is the first Friday in October. So there's no more room for trying to figure it out. You either got it or you don't. And what ailed you last week has to be fixed this week. There are still some teams out there that have some bye weeks remaining. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. All right, you're watching the Ubrzati High School football show. I'm going to step aside for a brief minute, grab a drink of water here, and promote one of my other sponsors who helps me out so much, Chrissy Lindback of Chrissy Knows.
Hi, I'm Chrissy Lindback with Compass, your East Coast real estate expert. When it comes to selling your home, experience and strategy matter. My team and I make sure every detail is handled, so you get top dollar and a stress-free experience. We bring in professional stagers, high-end photographers, and cinematic videographers to showcase your home at its best. Because every showing starts online and we make sure your home stands out. With consistent communication, strong negotiation skills, and local market expertise, I guide you every step of the way. Because here in Brevard, when it comes to real estate, Chrissy knows. Ready to buy or sell in Brevard? Visit Chrissy Knows and let's get started.
Thank you, Chrissy. I can't tell you how much Chrissy has contributed to Brevard Sports Network here over the last 2 years. Thank you so much, Chrissy. Just phenomenal support. All right, let's take a look at this week's schedule on tap here. And in case you're wondering why everything is in pink, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I happen to know several people that have battled breast cancer. And so each October, you see the NFL do it, college, high school, which I love, honor Breast Cancer Awareness Month with the color pink. You'll see pink on all of our football graphics until we get to the last week of October, and then I have some fun with Halloween where we change them orange. But here are this week's games. The two games you'll see on Brevard Sports Network this week will be John Carroll at Holy Trinity and Vieira at Cocoa Beach. Other area games. Satellite is at Somerset Academy. Sebastian River at Astronaut. Bayside at Space Coast. Cocoa at Miami Norland. O'Galley at Trinity Catholic. Melbourne at Winter Springs. MCC at Titusville. Martin County at Palm Bay. Mandarin at Rockledge. And an 8-man action, Lakeside Christian at the Calvary Chapel Eagles, and Legacy Charter at the Merritt Island Christian Cougars. All right, so who's going to win what, right? That's what we want to know this week, right? So in the first game, we got John Carroll against Holy Trinity. And let me tell you something. It's going to be a tough battle between two 4-1 teams, and Holy Trinity definitely has their work cut out for them tomorrow night. Remember Jackson Summerall? He was Heritage's quarterback off and on last year. He is the quarterback for John Carroll this year. So, Jackson Summerall, 28 of 44, 436 this year, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But they don't. For John Carroll, it's not about him. It's about Jeremy Pittman Jr. 53 carries, 573 yards. He's averaging nearly 11 yards a carry. I saw Oliver Esmil-Zadea tonight and told that young man they're going to need to wrap up in this one tomorrow night. Also saw Rico Petrago tonight, and I like this young man. I really do. I think he's got 2 great wide receivers in Aaron Raines and Jaden McMillan. I definitely give Holy Trinity the quarterback edge. Buitrago this year, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Listen, if the Tigers can keep that aerial attack going tomorrow night, I like their chances. I do think they're going to have to run the football, though, because John Carroll is. John Carroll's game plan certainly to continue to run Jeremy Pittman and to keep him on the field and that Tigers offense off of it tomorrow night. You know, I'm hearing a lot of people say that, you know, it's a tough game for Holy Trinity tomorrow night. You know, if there were odds on this one, Tigers wouldn't be favored. It'd be John Carroll favored in this one. The Rams went 10-1 last year, 10-0 during the regular season, and then were stunned in the first round of the playoffs. They've got a guard or a tackle on their football team. Can't remember the young man's name, but he's got a plethora of offers. And, oh, by the way, he signed, are you ready for this? An NIL deal. High school player now. Has an NIL deal. I saw on his Twitter page. It said, "Welcome to the Rosenhaus family." Has signed a high school NIL deal with Drew Rosenhaus. Yep. So that's where we're headed. Big-time NFL agent has a high school NIL branch, and this young man is a part of it. So, but myself and Anthony Knockreiner will be on the call on this one tomorrow night. Listen, I got faith in Hurley Brown tomorrow night. I got faith in Hurley. I got faith in Rico. I got faith in that defense that they're going to shut this guy down tomorrow night. Give me the Tigers in this one tomorrow night. I like the Tigers in this one tomorrow night. Vieira and Cocoa Beach. It's going to be Chase Alexander and Brian Kelly on the call in that one. This will be interesting because Vieira's coming off of a bye, rested, ready to go. Eric Nelson, true dual threat quarterback, 673 passing yards. I think he's, rushing yards as well. 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Duke Butler, 74 carries, 492 yards, 6.6 yards a carry. And Sean Hartman Jr. with 366 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. The tackling machine known as Jimmy James Olsen leads that defense. And tomorrow night, it's going to be about that secondary for the Hawks tomorrow night. Quarterback Remy Vignier, 1,237 yards this year, 14 touchdowns, but he does have 6 interceptions. Remy's got to need to protect the football tomorrow night. Cassius Robinson, they got 4 receivers, does Cocoa Beach, in triple digits this year. Cassius Robinson, Caden Ford, Arturo Stanley. You got Ryan Rogers in the backfield tomorrow night. I hear you. I think Cocoa Beach likes to throw the football, and Remy Vignier is very good at it. Hawks are coming off a bye week, and Cocoa Beach needs to go 3-1 the rest of the way to qualify for a bowl game. It's a big game, and it's a big game for Vieira as well. To give me the Hawks in this one, I just think coming off a bye in this one, I like Duke Butler. I just think, you got a 6A going up against an FHSAA independent. Coach Kimmy is, he's building this thing. He really is. But I think the Hawks would be a little too much tomorrow night for Cocoa Beach. But I do think Remy Vignier and company will certainly get their points and their yards through the air tomorrow night. Gotta protect the football. That's the key for Cocoa Beach tomorrow night. Protect the football. And who knows? Any given Friday, right? Satellite is taking on a winless team tomorrow night. So, listen, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0. Boy, but you really got to like the way that Brody Grennan continues to distribute the football. Logan Waite, red zone machine. Alex Batalis, these guys are stretching the field. Defensively, again, I don't have any defensive stats. I don't have really any stats for these guys. I know they're having some camera issues over there this year, and a lot of times they go back and match stats up. So that's what the issue is. But, Satellite 6-0 going up against an 0-6 team. Yeah, they moved to 7-0 quite easily tomorrow night. Sebastian River at Astronaut. Draquan Jones with a couple of touchdown runs last week. This is a multi-level backfield. They've got running backs for days back there. Brennan Waldrop does a nice job in that RPO. I like the way the Astronaut defense is starting to continue to get tougher as the season grows along. The War Eagles are sitting at 6th in 2A Region 2. We didn't go over that region because Coco's 4, Astronaut is 6. That'll tighten up a little bit more because next week we'll begin to talk about the villages a little bit as it pertains to Coco and Astronaut. Villages are 6-0 with some IMG transfers and making some noise, by the way. But I like Astronaut in this one tomorrow night. Bayside at Space Coast. The Bears, they've shown flashes this year, but Space Coast, since losing to Astronaut, the Bears have, the Vipers, I should say. Man, I've just been a fan of Zion Sandy since he stepped onto the field. He's got, great playmakers like Caden Thomas and Alex Banichowski. Got a good running back there, Braden Cook. And that defense, Junior Fighter, you can't forget about Junior Fighter. Too much tomorrow night, I think, for Bayside. I like the Vipers in this one tomorrow night. Melbourne hits the road. They go and play a 5-1 Winter Springs team tomorrow night, but don't let that 5-1 record fool you in terms of thinking this is a top 25 team. I mean, Winter Springs is a good football team. Any team that wins 5 of 6 games on their schedule is a good football team. But those 5 wins for Winter Springs have come against teams with a combined record of 6-22. 6-22. Their lone loss, Winter Springs, was a defeat to an undefeated state-ranked, they were number 11 team from Colorado, and they put it on Winter Springs 37-0. This is a big test for 2 reasons, because growing teams like the Melbourne Bulldogs are, you don't want to test your team with 2 losses in a row. And I think the Bulldogs bounce back tomorrow night on the road. Great teams don't string together losses. Resilient and growing teams like the Bulldogs don't either. So give me the Bulldogs tomorrow night to bounce back. They bounced back really nicely following their loss to Merritt Island, and I suspect that they will do the same following their loss to Osceola as well. Another game that's going to give Rockledge a ton of points in terms of strength of schedule as number 24 and 5-1 Mandarin comes to Brevard County tomorrow night. Mandarin's quick, they're big, they're strong, they got elite speed and size, and they bully opponents. But Rockledge has seen this before. They went over and played, Cardinal Mooney. They've seen this. They played a team better than Mandarin. Cardinal Mooney's a better team than Mandarin, in my opinion. I don't know that Rockledge is going to win this football game tomorrow night. In fact, picking them, I'm going to take Mandarin. But I don't think you're going to see a final score like the one you saw against Cardinal Mooney earlier this season. I think this is a team that over the last 2 weeks, you saw what playing those tougher games meant to them in district play. This is just yet another one. My only fear is health. I want these young bucks to stay healthy, and here's hoping that they do. I think this could be a game for a while, too, tomorrow night. As long as Rockledge doesn't make any mistakes early, turnovers that maybe Mandarin picks up an extra possession they shouldn't have and go up 14-0 and put Rockledge down 2 scores. But I think if we're going possession tomorrow night, I like the Raiders to keep this a game for a while tomorrow. And arguably one of the biggest games of the year for both of these programs tomorrow night, MCC at Titusville. This is a sneaky good game. We tried to get this game, but it was already gotten. Sneaky good game. Oh, by the way, real quick, that Bayside game at Space Coast, you can watch that game on Press Box Overtime with Bill Maharis and Doug Cook. Those guys do a great job. I forgot to mention that. I think I put that in the preview, though. But this MCC at Titusville game tomorrow night, you got, 1-3 against 2-4 tomorrow night. These teams, MCC is off of a bye. They still don't have Brogan McNabb back. But they climbed up in the regional rankings this week to number 6. And remember, there is no First Academy in those regional rankings for MCC. So they're really 5 in those regional rankings because the First Academy's playoff punishment from their sanctions last year extends to this year. But, we'll see how much of an improvement that's the thing right now. MCC's offense, their defense not playing very well. They got Titusville tomorrow night. I like the Terriers in this one. I do. I think the Terriers, while MCC needs this game, the Terriers absolutely need it more. And I think they're going to get it. If I could just give a piece of advice, last week, I think it was learned not to kick the ball to Xavier Larice. MCC, I say we have the 2 best kick and punt returners in the state of Florida right here in Brevard County. Xavier Larice, and the other one plays for MCC, and his name is Noah Flores. So I don't suggest kicking the football to him either, by the way, because he's got a run back, either a punt or a kick return run back in all 4 games this year for the Hustlers. I'm just saying. But I like Titusville tomorrow night. I think what happened last week at O'Galley, that whole scenario at the end of the game where they had the ball and the lead through that pass on first down, I think all of this gets cleaned up for their final 4 games of the year, 2-4. Again, they can go 3-1 down the stretch and even lose to Merritt Island, but they want 4-0, and they are this close, and they believe they can go 4-0. But give me the Terriers tomorrow night. Martin County at Palm Bay. I don't know much about Martin County. We're going to get to see them tomorrow night. Heritage is going to get to see. Now, Heritage is on a bye this week, so I expect that Coach Benson and everybody from Heritage will be at Palm Bay tomorrow night watching Martin County. So let me know. Palm Bay fighting 2 wins this year. Come on, Coach. Coach Mays with the upset at home tomorrow night. There you go, Coach. Palm Bay, I'll take them to beat Martin County tomorrow night. 8-man, Calvary Chapel. They've been up and down this year. They're at home tomorrow night. They play Lakeside Christian. That's a good football team. Calvary Chapel, a young football team. Give me Lakeside Christian. Merritt Island Christian, host Legacy Charter. I expect a running clock in this one. And Merritt Island Christian as well. Cocoa and Miami Norland tomorrow night. Down at Trash Pal, I believe, is where they play those games down there tomorrow night. Wow. What a big game this is tomorrow night for both of these teams. When you look at both of these teams, last year when they met at Richard Dick Blake Stadium, Cocoa and Norland were a combined 7-3. This year they're 4-7, and I don't think either program thought that that's where they would be on the first Friday in October. New Orleans is 7th in 4A Region 4. Cocoa is 4th, still hosting in 2A Region 2. But this is a game to me that feels like it's a measuring stick for survival, confidence, momentum, morale, all of those things. And, the loser of this football game tomorrow night, now, listen, again, Cocoa can go win their district. They can beat the Villages, which isn't going to be as easy as we originally thought, right? Because of what I've since learned about the Villages. But Cocoa can still go win their district, make the playoffs. But if they want to stay in that 4 slot and host, they got to win this football game tomorrow night. Otherwise, they're looking at a 5-6 seed, and they're traveling from week 1 of the playoffs until they're not. So that's how big this game. They're coming off of a bye week. A tough loss to O'Galley, but showed flashes against Heritage where they won that game 37-0, and all felt right in the world. But then Champ Smith didn't play. He warmed up, but didn't play against O'Galley. He's had a bye week to rest. I don't reveal injuries on here unless they're season-ending indefinite. I'm told he could play, should play, might play. Who knows? I know their freshman quarterback played all 4 quarters of their JV game last night, so I know he's not going to play. But I think this offense obviously works best right now with champion quarterback and Troy Silverzon in that H-back role. I expect that's what we'll see tomorrow night. And the dark side defense, they played really well against O'Galley. They gave up, that big run to Larice there. But for the most part, played well in that game. I think they go down to Trash Pal and C.J. Hester and O'Keefe's Battle, Duran Guilford and company put up that kind of a fight. And Champ Smith doesn't turn the football over. Cocoa can win this football game tomorrow night. This is not the Norland team that came into Dick Blake Stadium last year and took it to Javen Boggs and company and Brady Hart. This is not that team. In fact, you remember at the end of last year, they got caught with an illegal player, lost a win on their schedule as well, lost their head coach, Daryl Heidelberg. Their new head coach is their athletic director, I believe, Tryon Johnson. So this isn't the same Norland team. This is an extremely winnable game for Cocoa. And coming off of a bye week, I'm going to put my faith into the Tigers in this one. The Champ Smith, the dark side defense is going to go south tomorrow night and come back from Trash Pal against a desperate football team that's still good with a victory. Give me the Cocoa Tigers tomorrow night, 24-17 at Traz Pal. And maybe this type of a win down in South Florida is what jettisons the Tigers back on track to the Cocoa Tigers that they want to be. Because obviously they fought issues or fought injuries this season. I like to see them run football a little more tomorrow night if they can. I think their offensive line is going to need to be tip-top tomorrow night. That entire front seven of that defense has to play better against the run, but I think they can do these things. You give Ryan Schneider and DeMarcus Manyfield and Adam Franco and that entire coaching staff 2 weeks to prepare, and they should come home with a win tomorrow night, and I believe they will. Give me the Cocoa Tigers 24-17 tomorrow night, bouncing back from their loss from O'Galley. And that would be a big win. So one more time, let's take a look at the games tomorrow night. John Carroll at Holy Trinity and Vieira at Cocoa Beach here on Brevard Sports Network. You got Satellite at Somerset Academy. I like the Scorps there. Sebastian River at Astronaut. Give me the War Eagles. Bayside at Space Coast. I took the Vipers. Cocoa at Miami Norland. I like the Tigers tomorrow night. O'Galley at Trinity Catholic. I skipped that middle portion because I wanted to save it for last, and I almost skipped over O'Galley's game. The Tigers tomorrow night are going to play Trinity Catholic. That's over in Tampa. I love O'Galley in this football game. Back in week 1, I think it was week 1, MCC had Trinity Catholic over here. And let me just take a look at that game. That's a game that wasn't finished, but MCC led in that football game. It's not on their schedule. But MCC likely would have won that football game, I believe, that night. I definitely like O'Galley tomorrow night. The type of football that the Commodores play with Larice and Corbin in running. And then that defense. Let's talk about that defense for a minute, because at the beginning of the year, we were kind of torching them a little bit because they were being torched. They were giving up big plays, 77 yards here. Remember Mitchell's 77-yard touchdown run from Rockledge against them. But Coach Ramos and Coach Hall have done a heck of a job with that defense. And last week, man, they really got down in the trenches and played great front seven football. And then when you got Corbin and Larice, that type of speed behind you, you can pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. And listen, Titusville's offensive line did a good job. That was a battle. That was a fun battle to watch last week. Titusville's offensive line, O'Galley's front seven. I mean, it was smash mouth football, kind of football I love. And that's why I love O'Galley so much right now, because of that type of football. They're playing that. That's the type of football that travels and plays well in November. It does. I like to see him throw the ball a little more. Captain role. I think, T.J. Monroe. I just think, again, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. I still think they need to find a way to try to limit all that time for Larice the closer we get to November, because this team is getting better as the season goes on. So I would like to see them get the ball in the air a little bit more, and I'm sure they would too. Protect Larice a little bit, give him some more breathers. Who knows? Maybe the X-Men don't want him. That's the kind of athlete he is. But I like O'Galley to go over tomorrow night to Trinity Catholic and get the job done. And again, because when we talk about their type of football, it travels. It does. You play that well on the road. Look, they got a new head football coach, too, Trinity Catholic does. His name is Clinton Hart. Hart, I believe he was a professional football player. Good dude. I'm pretty sure. No, I know he's a good dude, but it is. Okay, so here it is. Yeah, Clinton Hart. He is a former NFL player, Clinton Hart. Hart is from Webster, nearby Sumter County. He played football and baseball at South Sumter. Yeah, okay, so he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, San Diego Chargers, and St. Louis Rams. So that's been a while for him if it was in St. Louis from 2002 to 2009. So they got a good football team. Trinity Catholic does, but O'Galley's better. And trap game, though, Commodore's got to be careful because, they do live on the edge a little bit. O'Galley lives on the edge. And so when you play that kind of football and you get in these trap games, because next week's the game against Merritt Island at Merritt Island. But they have not yet been caught. They haven't been caught looking ahead, and they're well coached. Chris Sands and company aren't going to let them look ahead and pass that to Merritt Island, to that big matchup next week. So give me O'Galley in that one. So, all right, let's go back to the middle portion. Coco at Miami Northern. I like the Tigers. O'Galley at Trinity Catholic. I like O'Galley. Melbourne at Winter Springs. Give me Melbourne. MCC at Titusville. I like the Terriers. Martin County at Palm Bay. Coach Mays, I put it on you, buddy. Upset at home tomorrow night. Mandarin at Rockledge. I liked Mandarin in this one, but I do like Rockledge to play these guys tough for a while. I like Lakeside Christian against Calvary Chapel, and I like Merritt Island Christian at home. Heritage and Merritt Island are on buys. Give me Holy Trinity and Vieira as well. So, once again, I want to thank all of you one last time. Please continue to share Caleb's GoFundMe. I thank all of you very much for your continued support of Brevard Sports Network and sticking by our side in a difficult time. And it's not only difficult for Caleb. Obviously, he's priority number one. It's difficult for us too here, trying to make sure. Caleb covered half of everything we've done. Everything we do, Caleb did half of it. And afforded me the opportunity to be able to create content and write articles and things like that. So all of that still has to happen. And it's been tough. But we're getting it done as best we can. And so I thank all of you out there for your love and support of us here at the network as well. And I want to thank guys like Anthony Knockreiner and Chase Alexander and Brian Kelly and Blake Mays. I haven't seen Blake in 2 weeks. Blake Mays will be back next week. And Cadence Bates and, who have all stepped up to help in each and every way that they can to ensure that our broadcast can continue. And they will continue this weekend, as I will be back on the call for youth football this weekend. I'll be at Suntree Vieira as Pop Warner football satellite at Vieira. Been a long time since I've been there all day from morning, noon, and night. Actually, I'm lying. I just did it at satellite a couple weeks ago. But satellite at Vieira. And then Sunday, we got boys lacrosse. High school fall lacrosse for you. The Cape Coast Fall League on Sunday starting at 2 o'clock. I'll be on the call back at Vieira Regional Park for that as well. I want to thank Chrissy Lindback, and I want to thank, of course, Ubrzati. I don't know what I would have done the last 5-6 years without Ubrzati as a partner sponsor. And, of course, my man Natwick, Eric Natwick at Natwick Insurance. So for all of you out there, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night at a high school football field.